And good evening, and welcome to another edition of Economically Empowering Our Communities. I'm your co-host, Marcus Wallace, and usually I say riding shotgun, but man, it's too hot. It's too hot to ride shotgun right now. But my co-host, Mr. Socrates, Garrett, thank you all for joining us today.
Marcus, it is hot in Jackson, Mississippi. I don't know if it's ever been this hot. And you're talking about riding the stagecoach. I'm going to get inside the stagecoach.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. And, just want to definitely send out some prayers to all the construction workers right now. It is hot out there. You all work smart. That's all I can tell you is to work smart and drink plenty of water.
Stay hydrated. And Marcus, we got to look out for our senior citizens.
Absolutely.
We got to look out for the elderly. If you don't have air conditioning in the home now, that's a real suffocating environment, Marcus.
It really is. It really is. And, there's over the last, 2 weeks, I've gotten a lot of calls, man. There's a lot of people out here without water. A young lady reached out to me last week in my inbox, and she's really frustrated and stressed out trying to figure out what she's going to do, because the public officials, one of the things I don't think they're really understanding and realizing is we're about to start school, and without water in some of these households, that's going to be a hygiene problem with the school district. And my hat's off to these teachers, man. They have to deal with so much. Mr. Garrett, there have been instances because I try to keep my hand into the district, helping out as much as I can. And man, these teachers, even when kids come to school that haven't had a bath, you got teachers going to take them in the bathroom and getting what you call a wash off. These teachers keep extra sets of uniforms and clothing in their classroom because, a lot of times kid act up at school because of certain things they're dealing with at home. And so you got a lot of teachers out here who really care. And, like I said, my hat's off to them. Lord knows. I hope they continue to get pay raises every year until we get this thing to the, national average.
Marcus, I think we're far below the national average currently. And each year, the state of Mississippi talks about moving our teachers to the Southeastern average. But we never seem to get that done. And it's a indication that we're not dedicated and committed to education, and that we really don't believe that education is the key for a good quality of life. Now, I know that, families are struggling. I know that the economy in Jackson, Mississippi is poor, and we have high poverty rates, and we have high crime, and we have all of the issues that are associated with poverty. But Marcus, nobody seems to connect the deprivation or the denial of economic opportunity to the conditions in our community. And if you don't have a strong Black business class, then you can't help the elderly. You can't help those families and the children that you're talking about. So what are we going to have to do to try to build a strong Black business class in a 85% Black city and a 75% Black county?
Well, one of my favorite lines is the math got a math. And, people lie, but numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
And so based on the numbers that we see here in this city, county, and state, we got the wrong frontline soldiers. We got the wrong soldiers on the front line.
Right.
And, that's the thing that our community, our citizens gotta really get serious about. We got to make some changes. We got to put people in these seats who are going to represent the people, and every day that public official should get up every day trying to improve quality of life, no matter what that looks like. It's not a personal agenda. It's not a personal ego thing when you're holding one of these seats. You really have to be, that leader for the people and try to identify the things that are needed. I haven't heard our leaders talk about this incident that this young man that died on the coast. I haven't heard anybody raise any saying about this water situation, and we're getting ready to start back school. Last I heard, the AC units in these schools are not working 100% or whatever. So these children are going to experience some heat when they go back to school, and certain things we shouldn't be dealing with. Getting money for infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. We know that takes time. But we could just ride around the city and look at certain things on the streets, these schools, different things. The vegetation all over the place. Things that we can actually be doing ourselves as a city. Until the big funds come.
Well, the big funds have already come. I mean, we got 500 million or 600 million
5 billion.
from the
Oh,
Fed.
you talk okay?
Yeah, I'm
That's
talking
one
about,
set of money.
yeah, I'm talking about the 500 million or the 600 million, whatever the number is finally going to end up being.
We're gonna have to eventually get a chart because we got a lot of different pots of money. You got the 600 million. You got the 5 billion the state we talk about. You got the 197 million 1% sales tax. I mean, it's several different pots of money. Yet African Americans still getting less than 1%.
And we got $1 billion that flow through minority controlled institutions. I always call them the economic engines in our county. And that's Jackson Public School System, the City of Jackson, Hinds County, and the Airport Authority. I won't go to Jackson State University in Tougaloo because even though it's an HBCU, I think that IHL still controls the fund.
When we did the project downtown JSU campus, that's who we dealt with. But I think things are going to be promising at Jackson State. Dr. Denise Jones Gregory, I think that she's going to do a good job, and I think that African Americans, more African Americans, going to get opportunities from up there. But the thing about it is, I think we got some fault in this too. And when I say we, I'm saying the business community, because we haven't been applying pressure. We haven't been asking questions. We haven't been in the rooms. You understand what I'm saying? We have not formed a collective, I would say, and actually gone to these folks. That's why I was telling you, man, let's do this panel discussion that we talked about. Those things, because it's us that's going to have to spearhead those things. Now, a lot of times people will say, "Oh, Socrates, Marcus, they just mad because they not getting anything." Well, guess what? Uh, One of these weeks coming up, we're gonna bring some heavy hitters in here. I've already talked to Frank Dixon and Joe Collins, and I think outside of us, you can't ask for two more contractors that may have a lot of history in the city. So I've asked them to actually come and get on this panel with us, this podcast, to talk about you know a lot of what we all have experienced. I've also talked to the great Robert Brazil and Vernon Perry, and like I said, some of the basketball players as well, because again, that's a whole nother, uh, I guess, resource there. None of the leaders have put these athletes in one room, which is clearly $1 billion of resources to help develop Jackson.
And Marcus, you're right on in your thought process. I was talking to Eric Dampier just this morning, And of course, he had a tremendous basketball career, and
Mm-hmm.
he's willing to invest back in Jackson. We just got to contact them and make certain that they understand that they are appreciated, that they're valued, and that they're
Right.
needed to try to help move this economy along. Uh, I was at Jackson State University this weekend. My granddaughters came over here for invitation only basketball camp with Coach Margaret Richards.
Okay.
And when I drove through campus, I saw a lot of construction going on, because Lynch Street was completely torn up. And I was wondering, I said, I wonder if any of us are working on these construction projects that I see at Jackson State University. And, you know, we don't have a real tight network in terms of talking to all of the black businesses in the city, but we know them all.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see anybody that I recognized on these projects. When I rode down State Street, I didn't see anybody that I recognized working on those projects.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if it's not visible, then it's non-existent. You may have some underlying things going on, but if it doesn't rise to where it's visible, where we can see our folk working and not having a job, that's a different environment. We're not here fighting for employees. That's the unions will fight for the employees. We here fighting for economic opportunities as primes, as subs, as joint ventures, and something of that nature. And Marcus, our viewers don't understand, how to put a team together and have the capacity when one individual may be lacking, but another individual, when we come together, we have the capacity that we need. And I saw Neil Schaefer and some other engineering firms come together because they wanted to have the capacity to stop larger engineering firms coming into Jackson 20 years ago. Now, they were not speaking to one another before that, but they joint ventured and teamed with that. So kind of explain to our viewers out there the advantage of a joint venture and what that looks like.
Well. First of all, you know, we got to make sure our people on the political side, on the public officials on their side, and we got to make sure businesses understand as well that this word capacity is overrated. It's overrated. The success of my business over the years have been getting in the room with the big companies and number one, executing a teaming agreement. And what businesses need to understand and what the public officials need to understand, if you get everybody in the room to the big fish and the little fish, and you network and form these teaming agreements, guess what? The big fish gonna help you build capacity. They're gonna give you the opportunities. They're gonna show, and that's one thing I got to shout out to Neil Schaefer about. In the beginning, I didn't know anything about inspection work on the engineering side or any of that. Well, whenever Neil Schaefer gave an opportunity and we didn't have the experience in it, they set up a week, 2 week training and trained our people. And to this day, there are a couple of individuals who worked for me, for my company, who now basically are like consultants. They work with different engineering firms whenever they have projects to do inspection. That's what you call empowering your community. Mm-hmm. That's what you call economic growth, because now you've taken an individual who wasn't who may have been unskilled labor or skilled labor, but now they have certification pretty much behind their name as an inspector. So now they've gone from probably 2,000, 2,500 a month, just a number to throw out there, to these guys making 4 to 7,000 a month. To me, that's growth.
That is growth.
That's growth.
That is growth. And so tell us a little bit about where inspectors are needed I know anytime we have disaster, for
Right.
example, they are required, but they may be required on all
Oh yeah,
projects.
that's what I was about to say. On these projects that you see going on, around the city, that they have to have inspectors. We did inspection work on the Funding Enhancement Project. We did inspection work on the Capital Street two-way job, um, the State Street project, you name it. So everybody, all of those municipality projects, I would say, or county or state, will have a inspector on it.
So, Marcus, I want to walk down through it for our viewers that who the players are and what their roles are in this economy and particularly in this construction environment. Now, I guess, Marcus, at the top of the food chain will be the architects. And so, and then the architects normally would design the project.
Right.
We have some very fine Black architects in this city.
Absolutely.
Keely Kelly is top rated architect in this city. I believe that IMS has an architectural division as well. And so
William McElroy.
Yep. McElroy is flying his own planes. He dressed differently than everybody else. He's my frat brother, and I love him to death. Shout out to Cap Alpha Psi. But we have architects in this city, Black architects, at the top of the food chain. And then when you come out of there, Marcus, I guess we come into the civil engineers.
Right.
Explain to us what a civil engineer's role.
The civil engineer's role, pretty much, his area is the infrastructure, part of projects or municipalities or whatever. And again, we got some pretty good African American civil engineers. You got IMS, you got Crown Engineering, you got SOL. You have
I hadn't heard about SOL in a long time.
Yeah, and last I talked with Willie, he said, man, we're having to basically go on the road to get opportunities, which that's what a lot of us are having to do.
You gotta leave home to look for opportunity.
Yeah.
Willie O'Neill with SOL and Starling with SOL.
Yep.
Have a proven track record, a capacity to do good, solid work.
Absolutely.
And yet they got to leave home to find work.
I often wonder if the administration, well, not just the city, the county too, do they have a Rolodex of all the African American businesses in Jackson and Hines?
You would think that they would know every
Right.
one of them
Right.
personally.
Yep.
I would think that the government, especially in Hines County, would have a inventory of capable minority firms.
But
if one of those firms is being blackballed or left out or being treated unfairly, I think that the elected officials ought to speak out about it publicly. Now, Marcus, if it is an African American that's doing the blacking you out or denying you the opportunity, that makes it a little bit more different, because then it is not even racial discrimination. If you got 5 members of the county board of supervisors and they all Black, and they are not affording opportunities or reaching out to the business community, we can't call that racial discrimination.
Right.
I don't know what you call it other than the kids have coined the phrase, they hate us.
Right. The question is often asked, why is everything all about race? And I think people just got to understand that the issue of race is going to always come up when you're looking at these numbers, and like I said, we're not trying to strong arm anybody and say, oh, it should be 30% tomorrow. We just want to see progress, because no one can humanly look at 1% of $5 billion, less than 1% of $5 billion, and think that every Black person or African American business in the state of Mississippi gotta eat out of that 40 million pot. That's crumbs.
Well, you brought it up. You brought it up. So, engineer, I'll put on the screen for us the documentation. Marcus says we bring the numbers.
We bring the
We're not up
numbers.
here just flapping our jaws. We bring specific numbers, and he mentioned it. There is $5 billion, 519,862,146 being spent by the state of Mississippi. This is contracting expenditures. $5.5 billion. Marcus, black folk get 40 million out of the 5.5 billion, 0.73%.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous again. White women get 181 million, Marcus, but black folk get 40 million out of $5.5 billion. And so these are the kind of numbers that we're seeing. And these are the kind of numbers that lets us know that there's something wrong. Is something wrong in this situation. This can't happen by accident. This just doesn't just happen because somebody made a mistake. This is intentional. You have to be intentional when you are in a state with a population of 45% black folk and less than 1% for contracting expenditures goes to that population. You are starving that population out.
And it's not going to change unless your voice is heard and your vote is counted.
And we on this vote, let's get out the vote camp. But Marcus, we have the highest number of black elected officials of any state in America. We're the blackest city of any city in America. Jackson, Mississippi is the blackest city in America. And the numbers don't reflect any different. Black folk are doing better in Tacoma, Washington than they're doing in Jackson, Mississippi, where we run everything. Now, how can that be, Marcus?
I'm still trying to figure it out. I just don't understand it, and
it's intentional,
right.
Marcus.
And the other part that we have to be honest about is the few of us who really see this for what it's worth and really out here on the front line talking about it. We instead of our voices being heard and we're making a difference, it's like we get blackballed.
Yeah.
You get blackballed for saying, speaking facts. Again, if anybody say that we're bashing somebody on this show, they're lying, because we're not bashing anybody. Actually, what we're doing is we're crying out about these numbers, but we're also letting you know that, hey, we're here to help change this. We've personally sat down and talked with the mayor early on. One of the first two that basically said, hey man, you need some folks in the trench with you. We letting you know from the door. When we lost the election, then we make that clear. We made that clear.
Broke bread with him down at Country Fishing.
Absolutely. And it's not to brag or boast, but in my thinking, and a lot of times that's a big fault of mine. I think people should think like me, but there's no way in hell that I would be mayor of this city and not have people who have actually, proven track record of making a difference in this city, not just from doing projects, but reaching out in the community, doing something for these children, the homeless, and the elderly folks. I mean, there's no way. If you go, there's a saying, they say when you get ready to go to war, make sure you got the right artillery. Man, there's no way I wouldn't have folks like us on board.
Right. You would think you want the sharpest minds around you. You want your most experienced people in your cabinet.
Right.
And so, I mean, to the extent that you're able to set aside any differences, And one of the strongest things that a political person can do, in my opinion, is bring those that oppose their election into the fold. I know you ran for commissioner against Senator Willie Simmons. Did y'all meet after that?
Oh man, I endorsed him within 24 hours. You know, I was riding around with a truck and trailer with my signs on. Well, within 24 hours, I endorsed Commissioner Simmons, and I took my signs off and put his signs on, and I was rolling just like I was campaigning still. You know, and so that's what I'm saying. You know, you can't deny the work we put in. You know, from our pockets. Lord have mercy.
It just demonstrates our commitment
Right.
to the environment that we live and work in. And we want to be treated right, and we want opportunities not only for us, but we want the minority business community to do better at the state level. When he put the photos up there a few minutes ago, the state of Mississippi is governed by Governor Tate Reeves. Then we have the next gentleman there is Bill Cork. He is in charge of the Mississippi Development Authority. The Mississippi Development Authority, Marcus, many of our citizens don't know what they do. But if you see projects that are coming into Tupelo, if they're coming into Rankin County, if they're coming into Clinton, the Mississippi Development Authority is recruiting those businesses and making absolutely certain that they get what they need to come into Mississippi.
Absolutely.
Now, the state provides a lot of incentives for a company to come into Mississippi, but no company seems to come into Hinds County or into Jackson. I wonder how can that be? I wonder if Mr. Bill Cork up there see that this is a problem, that the Development Authority ought to specifically look for businesses that will fit in your capital city.
Right.
And you would think now, and Tate's been there, what, 8 years going on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, 7 years, maybe 8 years coming up. In that 8-year period, you would want to have seen some results. Now, the next gentleman on that photo up there is a personal friend of mine, Deborah Hoseman, the lieutenant governor. And the lieutenant governor is a powerful position.
It sure is.
It was the most powerful position before Haley Barbour came in here and changed the game. It was the most powerful position in the state because he appointed all of the chairmen of every committee. That means if you appointed a chairman, nothing is going to come out of that committee that I don't like.
Right. Absolutely.
That's the way that works.
Right.
If you appoint a chairman of a committee, nothing comes out of there that I don't like. But to the vice versa, everything comes out of there that I do like. Now let's just take that position and put it in the city of Jackson. We got a mayor, but then you got a CAO that's handling the day-to-day operations. All of the public works director reports to him. All of the entities where the money is associated comes up through the CAO. Nothing should come out of the city that he doesn't like, but everything should come out that he does like.
Right.
That's the way they're doing it here at the state.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how you got this $5 billion. These gentlemen right here made sure that happened.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to leave out Jason White, the Speaker of the House. You know, I met Jason at New Horizon Church. We had a great conversation. Said he heard a lot about me, which a lot of people say they have. And, you know, he says that he's committed to equal opportunity and fairness. But the numbers don't show it.
The numbers don't show that. So that's where I am. Everybody is sincere when you talk to them. Those of us who talk, you know, we got to back up first, and even we got to. That's why we got to get these grade cards out, because we got some won't talk. We got some that won't go fight for the people. So we got to get that corrected first. But then the ones that you do talk to, and face to face, they give you this spiel that they, for fairness and equality and everything. But a lot of them don't show it. That gentleman we had last week, and want to shout out to him and his wife, Oscar Miskelly and his wife. He doesn't just talk it. Him and his family has displayed what, putting back and helping into the African American community. And he got, what, 10 folks, at least 10 African Americans making 6 digits out there at Miss Kelly.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
It does.
It says a whole lot.
It does.
And so, we got, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. If we need to create our own delegation and really start going on a tour and meeting these folks.
Right.
And holding their feet to the fire and holding them accountable of, that we want to see these numbers increase.
We got to see these numbers. And Marcus, I got to go on and say that we put on the screen the governor, the development authority executive, the lieutenant governor, and the speaker of the House. Now we got to take every entity, Marcus.
Mm-hmm.
We got to say, here's a picture of the mayor. Here's a picture of the CAO, which I believe was Peter Tableson.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that we got to put a picture of the president of the city council. Those 3 gentlemen right there control the agenda. And they have controlled everything that goes on. They determine who's going to be over what committee. If you're going to be on the budget committee, if you're going to be on the planning committee, if you're going to be on the criminal justice committee. The president of the city council has tremendous impact. I remember under Louis Armstrong, the city council really ran the city because they said that if we don't like it, it won't come through here. I don't care what the mayor puts up. If the mayor can't count to 4, he can't get nothing done.
And that's another thing that we need to make clear, make sure that the citizens know that the difference between the mayor and the city council. The mayor runs the day-to-day operation. He's the CEO of the city. But the council is the one that votes up or down the ideas that are presented. Carries a lot of weight.
Carries a lot of weight. And we're going to come back and we're going to tell you who the president of the city council is. And then we're going to move to the Hinds County and deal with the board of supervisors. But the engineer says we're up against a hard break. So we're going to take a commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Socrates Garrett ENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. Socrates Garrett ENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.Dot grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. By using Socrates Garrett ENT.com's crushed concrete products, anyone from homeowners to general contractors can help reduce landfilled concrete waste, conserve natural resources, and gain significant economic savings on materials and disposal costs. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Thing that one thing that I don't agree with, as it relates to the council, I don't think the council is vocal enough. And what I mean by that is, I've heard a couple of council members say, whenever a project come up, well, I don't care who does it, just long as it gets done. I think that that's the wrong attitude to have. I think a member should be one of the first individuals to say, who in Jackson, Mississippi, have y'all looked to see? I mean, this contract that they just issued out last week, $80,000, a consultant contract to a company out of Texas to come consult us about our homeless situation. And I have to give it to Councilman Stokes. He raised a little hell about it. He was like, y'all couldn't find somebody locally, and that's the thing. You're not going to tell me that we don't have talent right here local that could have used that $80,000 contract, or you could have broke it up into two $40,000 contracts. But no one is trying to help the local community eat. That's the thing that really bothers me. With this whole thing, it's just you just come to work and be ready to vote stuff up or down and not ask the questions. I mean, like I said, I bet you no one on the council has or the administration has a Rolodex of all the African American businesses here in the city of Jackson.
Well,
county either.
And the council person probably doesn't know who's in his ward.
Yeah.
And so if you find that the $80,000 went to a consultant from Houston, Texas, normally you'll find that the consultant from Houston, Texas invested in the administration. And so that's why people do that. And that's the way the system works. It works that way in Washington, D.C. It works that way in Canton, Mississippi. It works that way in Jackson. So we're not trying to break the system from the way it works. But the local people, there's got to be a local preference, Marcus.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the state of Louisiana has a 10% local preference.
Right. Even if you went with an out of town company, it's got to be, precedent's got to be set to where that out of town company understands that, at least 20% of this contract, I need to give it to some local folks or whatever. That, to me, that's the right way to do it.
And this certainly is the right way to do it. And this company, Wicker, that's in our city working on our water lines, I had conversations with them, Marcus, and actually met with their team on site to talk about repairing potholes, etc. And we were told that we would start work on the next day. And Marcus, the next day never came. We went to the job site ready to go to work, and Wicker's folk never showed up, and they never answered the phone call anymore.
I had that same meeting.
Did you have a similar meeting?
Similar meeting, very similar. And it's just,
where's Wicker from?
Shreveport.
They out of Shreveport, Louisiana. They coming in here in the Jackson, Mississippi, and taking hundreds of millions of dollars, and will not even come to a meeting with a local contractor that they initially said they would meet with.
I wonder, can you think we can get Hennepin on the show?
I would love to have Ted on the show.
Mr. Hennepin, we would like to invite you to this show, sir. We got some questions. We're not gonna hurt you or harm you. We just got some questions that we want to ask, and we just want to see a little change in these numbers. So if anybody works for Jackson Water, or if Mr. Hennepin, if he's listening to this show, we would love to bring you on. If you ask some people, this is a very diverse show. It's not black and white issue, going at each other or nothing. We're not trying to put you on a hot seat or any of that. But again, we would like to invite you to this show so we can, get some of these concerns addressed.
Well, I certainly hope he would come. I doubt he will, but I certainly hope that he would, because when he first came into Mississippi, I had very high hopes that this would be a jobs training program. This would be an economic opportunity that empowered our community, that because he didn't have to follow state guidelines. The purchasing laws were suspended for Mr. Hennepin. He is not obligated to follow any state or city or county purchasing regulation. He can do whatever the hell he feels like. He can choose whoever he wants. He can negotiate independently of anybody else. That is a lot of power to put in one man's hand. I mean, power is absolute, and absolute power normally corrupts.
And to me, see, as we break that, situation like that down, that's where, to me, a lot of problem lie, because when this money was approved to come to Mississippi, the black delegation should have been on top of that type of stuff to make sure that it was some type of language in those provisions that would ensure that, hey y'all, this is a 80-some% African American city. We got to make sure some African Americans get some of these opportunities, local African Americans.
Right.
But not just this project. I've seen it, and I know you have too, over the years, where somewhere down the line, our leaders don't do a good job reading the fine print.
Well, they intentionally don't read the fine print. Marcus, I believe that everything happens according to the plan. I believe that there is a 15, 20-year plan in place right now for everything that's going to happen with Jackson in the Hinds County area. And so the plan has systematically and systemically left Black folk out. And that's how we get 40 million out of 5 billion, Marcus. It's not by accident. It's according to the plan, because if you keep people broke, poor, they will be obedient. And they won't have podcast shows where they're running their mouths. They will suffer quietly. And there's a lot of quiet suffering going on out there in our community.
Absolutely.
I don't know what cloth you're cut from, but you just won't be quiet.
No, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to be quiet, especially when it's not right. We don't necessarily have to advocate as hard as we doing it, because we've been blessed. We worked hard, was able, been successful in business. I was able to put all my children through college and everything, but something will not let me rest, because I know we could do better. I know we could do a whole lot better with looking at the math. 80% African American city, 70% African American county, and almost 40% African American state. And every percentage that deals with pots of money, we're less than 5 down to 1%. That's not right, you all. And a lot of us professionals who are successful that know that this is not right and not saying anything, shame on y'all. I can't say shame on us, because we're actually trying to do something, but shame on y'all.
We don't hear y'all having no press conferences
right,
to talk about the issues. You're not saying anything about how you tried to introduce a bill to have set-asides in the state of Mississippi for African American firms. How and who was it that stopped it? I don't hear you say that it was the governor that shut it down, or the lieutenant governor. We are quiet. We're so quiet that you could hear a rat pissing on cotton. That's how quiet we are out here. And then when we do say something, we say something about some issue that's totally unrelated to the job we sent you down there to do. Now, for example, we didn't send you down there to solve the homeless problem. We sent you down there to manage the budget and the funds that were coming in from the taxpayers' money and make certain that they were redistributed in our community so that we'll see buildings and we'll see black folk flourishing, and we'll have the next tax money to fix your streets. I don't care what you do for the homeless. It's not going to give you no money to fix the streets.
And then let me, oh man, you about it. You about to get me started, Mr. Socrates. Even, you just think about it. We spend more money on studies and evaluations than probably anywhere else. Now, I know, can't think of her name, Lord of mercy, Miss Stanton, I think it's Javonda, over here running the Bentley Broomfield House and the home. All you gotta do is get those organizations that 80,000. They know how to eliminate the homeless situation. I mean, I don't see somebody coming in here doing a report to tell us we know the homeless problem, we know the problem, and we know really what the solutions can be. I hired a lot of homeless people, during my years in construction, and a couple of them, I was paying them real good and on a consistent basis. They came out of the homeless shelter, and I know one got his own house now, driving 18 wheelers and everything. So opportunities, economic growth, empowering the community. That's how you eliminate this homeless situation. We don't need anybody to come in here and consult us on that.
No, we don't. Put our people to work. And exactly. One of the things that Mississippi knows is a problem is that it doesn't have a trained workforce. It has not put enough money into the development of its citizens. There are no trade schools. The Job Corps Center that was down there in Crystal Springs, Mississippi, should be in Jackson, Mississippi, where the population is. We're not investing in our folk. But we want to talk about areas that we're not responsible for, and so every day we want to hear you tell us something about, we're going to bring in this event or this show or things of this nature, but you don't talk about what are we going to do about this $40 million. What are we going to do about this less than 1% that's going to our folk? Does that not bother anybody?
And you talk about workforce. Hats off to Richard Bradley and his wife for going into the neighborhood, over into the hood, basically, and opening up a workforce academy. But guess what? That academy doesn't run off bubble gum. No. And if Richard can't get some of this $5 billion, Richard can't keep having classes over there, and that's what I'm saying. You can't get so relaxed on people just because the outer picture looks good right now. But trust me, running a big locomotive like that, he's just like us. He's scratching his head too.
Every day. Every day.
But shout out to him, because like I said, they are really building some over there. I think now they're doing plumbing and air conditioning certification over there. And those are the things that that are needed. Now, Richard, I want to also tell you, don't forget I told you about one of the categories on the workforce side to really consider is this infrastructure stuff. We got a lot of young men around here that if we can get trained up to put these water and sewer pipes in the ground and pave these streets, that could generate a lot of opportunities for people. And it also really could help the city and county with some of this work, because the city and county haven't realized yet that the maintenance crews that they have are not going to get this stuff done.
Now, Marcus, we haven't spent enough time on our county. Now, the county is an economic engine comparable to the city. It has a 5-member board. all 5 of these people are African Americans, Marcus. I have not got a call from any supervisor about any opportunities in the county in 10 years. I can go back further than that.
Well, there's definitely some fine tuning that needs to be done at the county. I do have to give Supervisor Evers a lot of credit because she reached out, and we got a lot of opportunities since she's been in office. Supervisor Dixon, we've done a few things, but there's a lot of fine tuning that needs to be done in the county, a whole lot. Um, you know, and hopefully some change gonna come there soon. I'm gonna just say that and leave it at that.
Well, I know some change is going to come soon. We have 2 gentlemen that are fighting over a seat. One say he won it one time, and one say he was cheated out of it the next time. And so, Brother Archie, David Archie, and Tony Smith, trying to both have appeal to the citizens to say that they are the real elected supervisor. And so that scenario just keeps on growing, and it doesn't seem like that's going to be settled anytime soon unless the governor of the state of Mississippi decides to set up a date for the election, which I don't believe he has done yet.
Well, he said last week that he's not setting a date until all the court proceedings are over, and of course, they appealed it to the Supreme Court. So you're right; it could take a while before that happens. And at the end of the day, again, it's all about what the people want. It's all about what the people want at the end of the day. And the people could possibly not want either candidate.
Yeah.
And so it's all about who the people want, and people are just tired. People are just tired, of the everyday drama. They want to see some results. Just like you take these projects. If we have a huge project, and when that project ends, a good politician, I would say, would make sure they explain to the people, well, this project here only had 2% African American participation. Well, he needs to make sure that the next project come up, it be 5%. But if you don't communicate that with the people, and if you don't put that type of send that type of message to these big companies or whatever, that hey, you got a politician who's in this area who's gonna look out for the people. You're not gonna just be able to tell him something. He's gonna want to see the numbers. He's gonna want to see the increase from one project to another. And if he don't, he just get ready. He's gonna raise some good hell.
If you are a pitcher in the baseball game and you're not getting anybody out,
guess what?
Guess what? The coach is going to come to the mound.
My coach, Lord rest his soul, baby, all he did point it. Go sit down on the far end of the bench. You ain't doing nothing today, son.
Go sit down. You ain't got it today. Yeah. Now you might have it tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
But today,
go embarrass you in front of everybody. But guess what? When he embarrass you in front of everybody, you coming tomorrow, you're gonna be ready.
You're gonna be ready. You're gonna go work on your game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And our elected officials at the county, you got to work on their game. We got to get a report from the county that shows what the minority participation is on contracts for goods and services out of our county. We got to have that data so that we got to get some sunshine. We got to bring light in that area, as we have to do the same for Jackson Public Schools, the Airport Authority, and the city as well. Those 4 entities got to show us the numbers. Marcus says the math ain't mathing. Prove us wrong. Show us where the math is actually mathing. Now, we'll run out of time for today's show, but we're going to be on this trail for the unforeseeable future. Until things get better, or the creek rises and Jesus takes us all out of here.
That's right.
Marcus, it's been a great conversation this afternoon. Any parting shots for our viewers?
I just want to say change is pain, but sometimes it's necessary. That's all I got to say.
He said, no pain, no gain.
That's right.
Y'all stay safe and good night.
Good night.